What's up, everybody? This is Broskadamus, bringing you the first of, hopefully many, Final Fantasy ARR A Realm Reborn videos. This particular video is in response to ZiggyD StarCraft and Mr. Happy 1227's recent video called Why People Are Excited for Final Fantasy ARR A Realm Reborn. I wanted to make a response video. Hopefully he accepts it as a response video. If not, if you just stumble across this video completely randomly, both of those channels are going to be covering the game, and they also have numerous amounts of other content, and I would highly suggest you go check them out. And the first one is ZiggyD StarCraft. He does a lot of Path of Exile, and looks like he's going to be doing quite a bit of coverage here on Final Fantasy ARR A Realm Reborn. And the second one is Mr. Happy 1227, or just Mr. Happy. He's got a ton of videos already up on Final Fantasy ARR, and they're pretty much the only ones that ever show up when you search for them. So if you haven't already found it looking for information on the game, then this is where you'll check it out. I'll have both of their channels linked in the description so you can find them. If he does accept it as a video response, then you'll obviously know who ZiggyD is already. I wanted to make this video kind of to answer some questions and hopefully clear up some problems that a couple people might have, either in response to this video or just in general. Before I start, though, I want to say this is in no way a breach of the NDA in place in Final Fantasy ARR A Realm Reborn, because it's currently in beta. I am permitted to use text info images and images available on the official site or taken from beta after beta phase 3. I'm not allowed to use any video or audio, and I'm using only screenshots. Hopefully I can answer some questions that have been popping up in various places, and also a few questions that have popped up on this particular video and a few others. The first point is the subscription. It is not a free-to-play game in any way. You need to purchase the game, and then you pay a monthly subscription or a 30-day subscription. A lot of people are going to hear this and say, screw that, I'm out. But I would encourage you to stay and check it out at least, because I used to play World of Warcraft for about 7 years, and that was a subscription-based MMO. And this one is looking to be about the same, but it's going to be slightly cheaper for people coming in entry level. I noticed in the video that Mr. Happy didn't want to mention the legacy bonus that people who played 1.0 of Final Fantasy ARR are eligible for, because it's going to make people angry. Well, I'll answer that, and I'll put it up here because I'm going to be one of those people that are supposedly supposed to be angry. The Legacy is one of the subscription options. It also adds some other bonuses, but Legacy offers a subscription for $9.99, and it's if you played 1.0 for, I believe it was 3 months. Your $9.99 is going to cover you for 30 days. It doesn't really matter when you start in a month. I should probably start calling it 30-day periods at this point. But this affords you 8 character slots per server, and that's a total of 40 total across all servers. It also includes an exclusive in-game Chocobo mount, and the option to have your name in the credits. All this information I've taken from their website, a link that they have under their subscription options. So this could change, but this is what it is as of right now, as of making this video. The entry level, which is what I would be, and probably most people, is $12.99 for a 30-day subscription. And that's for 1 character slot per server, having a total of 8 across all servers. Because of the way the game works, the way your character can be pretty much any class or job at any point you desire, you only really need 1 character slot. But there is something else I've noticed while playing in the beta that might affect that. And your final subscription option is your standard subscription. This is if you want more characters, essentially, per server. Standard affords you at $14.99 a month. That's basic World of Warcraft level for just playing the game. And it gives you 8 character slots per server for a total of 40 across all servers. As you can see, that's roughly $5 more than the Legacy cost, and you're getting the same thing, except Legacy gets more. But Legacy members played the original game when it was garbage, so they essentially beta tested, so they should get some free stuff, which is probably why they can have their name in the credits. Now, the importance of this character slot mechanic is, I think, going to reveal itself later when we know more about the game. But having one character that can be any class or any job definitely makes it so you can pick your character and just stick with it the entire time without having to make alts to play different classes or whatnot. That's always bothered me in MMOs, because I like to just have an option to play my one character and like that one character. I have noticed that you will be given the option to change to another class after a certain point in your starting class quests. Just by playing your starting class, you'll eventually be given the option, and it also gives you a slight explanation as to how to reclass or join different guilds. And your guild master or the class quest giver will inform you when you're free to join other classes. For the Conjurer, which is what I've been playing, that's I believe I was level 12 after finishing the second quest, which was the Air Attunement quest. There is a side note that I mentioned a little bit ago that this might alter how your particular outlook on those character slots might be, and that's after level 10, you start to accumulate stat points. I'm not entirely sure how big an effect stat points are going to have in regards to your character when you start entering the end game and your gear is really good, or if it even makes much of an impact other than just some supplement to, oh, I like more health or I want more mana. But they cannot be refunded, is according to the tooltip in-game. So I'm not sure if I throw all of my points into Mind, that it's going to screw me over if I decide I want to main a Dragoon. I'm not real sure how that works. That's something that will have to be looked into. I think that could either be incredibly important or completely worthless, and if it's worthless, totally disregard this. In addition to answering a few of the questions that I see pop up constantly, I wanted to give some impressions of what I thought of the game coming from someone who's never played a Final Fantasy game that's a part of the main story. The only Final Fantasy game I've ever played is Final Fantasy Tactics, and that's not really telling me much of what's going on other than, oh, classes work like this, here's the classes, oh, I've seen a few of these, and that's about it. I thought maybe it would be beneficial to hear some point of view from someone who's coming into it just looking at it as an MMO and see where that stands. As far as an MMO stands, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was smooth and well done. And I didn't encounter a lot of connectivity problems, even though it's beta. And I didn't have any I actually didn't have a lot of bugs at all. I can't really name any off the top of my head, so it's definitely coming along and they're trying real hard. I'm not sure if open beta will be next. If it is, then everybody will be in on it. But they might have one more closed beta session, closed beta 4. I'm not sure if they're going to toss that out just yet. As far as gameplay goes, this is a tab target MMO. That means you're going to be essentially using tab to target multiple targets, and you're not going to be aiming to aim your skills necessarily, if that makes sense. Kind of like, to use the comparison, World of Warcraft. You tab, you target the target, you fire a spell, the spell's going to hit the target if it's in range, and the target does nothing about it. This could be bad for some people, this could be good for some people. I prefer tab target games because I prefer the smoothness of them, and I prefer the less floaty, running around everywhere, trying not to cuss. I prefer the tab target MMOs mostly because they're a lot smoother, and they tend to be more responsive, other than when compared to MMOs that require you to aim all of your spells. Not to say those are bad, but I actually prefer the tab target, the simplicity, the ability to know when to use your skills and when to use defensive cooldowns, or when to retreat, when to attack, how to protect your party, how to protect yourself. It just feels more solid to me. It's just a personal preference. And in Final Fantasy, it's very similar to World of Warcraft. It has a lot of spells that are going to root you in place while you cast them, if you want to complete casting, that is. I mean, you can cancel them to run away, which is, in a lot of cases, something you might have to do to avoid getting hit. Most of your spells are going to require that you stand still, and a lot of abilities that require channeling will do the same. I didn't play a ton of melee just yet, but I think you can make your attack and then move immediately after. You don't have to cast using melee abilities. But enemy abilities are actually really dangerous. Enemies can use AoE attacks, use powerful attacks, charge up attacks, and they'll usually have a slight tell when they're about to attack. And these should be avoided, because if you're like a conjurer, you're wearing cloth, you're going to get ripped up if you stand still for too long, even though you have some defensive cooldowns. Generally, the tells are pretty good. I've had a few where I've gotten out of it and still gotten hit, but it might just be maybe lag. I'm not actually sure what area my server's in. I've just kind of picked one, and it might just be connection to the server problems or something that they're going to iron out as we go into open beta. But it's pretty easy to dodge. You need to move around a lot. It's more mobile than WoW is, unless you're familiar with World of Warcraft's bosses, like don't stand in the fire, dumbass, kind of mechanisms. This is similar, except a lot less fire, necessarily, and a lot more, hey, that guy's eyes just lit up, it looks like he's going to do something, get out of the damn way. As far as that goes, I've taken a few of them. Nothing's killed me instantly, but as you learn the mechanics, I'm actually avoiding a lot of the attacks that come my way, and it feels good to be able to avoid them just by moving. You don't have the fancy rolls like in Guild Wars 2 where you just spam it constantly and it looks like everybody's doing some kind of interpreted dance. As far as the combat goes, it feels really good, and I would definitely recommend at least trying out the open beta if you're on the fence. As far as the actual combat, it's really similar to most tab target MMOs that are out already, except I've noticed that there's a chain system. As in, you can chain some of your attacks to either increase the potency of the following attacks or subsequent attacks, or increase the effect, like, one of my attacks slows the target. Well, this will slow them for longer or slow them more if I chain it this certain way. I don't fully understand the chains because this is some depth I haven't quite gotten into yet. I haven't played enough is the problem. It's not that I can't figure it out. As far as that mechanic goes, there's definitely some depth to it, and there's a lot of combinations that I probably don't understand yet that could definitely lead to some interesting possibilities. Another big point of contention is that classes have definitive roles. In Final Fantasy ARR Realm Reborn, classes have definitive roles, like tank, DPS, healer. I prefer that. Some people prefer games like Guild Wars 2, where nobody has really a role, but they can fit into some niches like support, distraction, heavy damage, stuff like that. Whereas a holy trinity, like a Realm Reborn, has people who are going to be healing. This class can heal, so it's going to heal. This class can tank, so it's going to tank. But each tank, there's some variety in tanks, some varieties in healers, some varieties in DPS as to what they can do. And there's also supports mixed in, like the Bard, for instance, who's the job specialization of the Archer, gains a lot of support abilities while not really sacrificing any DPS that he gains from archery, unless he's using some of the support abilities, which I think is really interesting. So when it calls for, you can be supportive, and you don't have to just sit around being supportive. When it comes to tanking, I believe there's two classes that can tank. That's the Gladiator and the Marauder. Both of them tank differently. The Gladiator seems to mitigate damage through blocks and avoidance, while the Marauder seems to soak it up and build rage and thrive under taking damage. They both specialize into more categories that are good for tanking, or you can use them outside of tanking. I'm not sure if you can use the Paladin for damage per se, because it seems to be your absolute wall of a tank. But as far as the Warrior job, I believe can damage outside of having to tank, so he doesn't necessarily need to be a main tank to be useful. Same goes for the healers, I believe, but I've only played up to Conjurer. Conjurer definitely would be a healer, because they specialize as their job into White Mage, which is, even somebody who doesn't know anything about Final Fantasy knows that a White Mage is your healer. I mean, it's a White Mage. Everybody knows what a White Mage is. And I guess I probably should too, because I played Final Fantasy Tactics. Finally, the crafting system. Some people like to just craft in MMOs because it's interesting. If it's not interesting, then maybe people don't play as long, or maybe people just don't get into crafting. I think this crafting system is pretty in-depth. I mean, there's entire classes focused on crafting, instead of it just being a profession you pick up, like in World of Warcraft, where you just pick up a skill like, oh, I want to be an engineer, so I pick up mining and engineering, and I do this crap as I level. When it comes to being a craftsman in this game, you have a class for it. They have a lot of classes for it. The classes for the professions are carpenter, blacksmith, armorer, goldsmith, leatherworker, weaver, alchemist, and culinarian. I haven't even scratched the surface on what any of these mean. All I know is that there's a lot more to crafting than grab this stuff, hit this button, and it crafts. You need to be able to gather the ingredients, which comes in the gathering classes. There's actually classes for gathering. They're miner, botanist, and fisherman. There's definitely a lot to be doing here outside of just running around questing. There's definitely a lot of side gathering, but it looks interesting. It doesn't look like, oh, there's a dot on my map, pick it up, or oh, look, there's this sparkly thing over there, go pick it up. I haven't even done any of the gathering professions yet, but I've seen people running around just like hacking at trees, and I don't even know what they're doing. It's definitely something I need to try out. But the fact that you can focus on these as a class tells me that there's probably a lot more to this than a couple of button clicks. You can actually get gear that focuses on gathering and crafting. That means you're going to be wearing field gear, is what I believe they called it in game. And it increases your quality of your crafts, and I'd assume it increases the efficiency at which you gather materials when used in the gathering profession. I don't even know anything about those yet, and I've played pretty much all day yesterday, and I still haven't even scratched the surface on this stuff. I would definitely recommend it. If you haven't tried crafting and you're in the beta, try it out real quick before this beta phase ends. I'm probably going to miss it, but I will try it when the next beta phase or when open beta starts. To sum it all up, I would definitely recommend at least trying this out when open beta happens, because there's no reason not to. It's free at that point. You don't have to have any obligation to it. Just sign into the open beta and give it a try. If it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. But if it's something that interests you, I would definitely not let that subscription fee get in the way. I mean, if you can afford it, that is. It's something that's definitely interesting me at this point, and I hope to be playing it a lot in the future, and I hope to be making a lot more videos for it in the future. And if you're on the fence as to whether to play this or not, or at least try it out, hopefully this has swayed you to at least try it, if not play it in general. That's everything, and hopefully it's helped you guys out a little bit, and I'll see you guys next time.